Hello and welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. I am your host, the whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and this is Black Minds News. Black Minds News is to articulate, transmit, communicate, insinuate, develop, investigate, decode, unveil, spread the news, whether it's by news, video, website, or quotes from publications. As I articulate this information, I ask the creator of the universe, be here, heart, soul, mind, and spirit, because why? The truth don't need no partner. As a descendant of the greatest people who created this land that you call the United States, we, the foundational black Americans, the black lineage, historical lineage, the bloodline ties of those which they call slaves, we who call ourselves BADOS, Black American Descendant of Slaves. Some say Black African Descendant of Slaves. Others say ADOS, American Descendant of Slaves. We, the today's children, offspring, and present generation, we give honor to our ancestors. You know what the motto of my show is? I'm never going to tell you what I heard. I'm only going to tell you what I know. Today's date is December the 2nd, 2019. Want to say what's good to the fam. Clicked on the button. Passerbys, welcome as well. Today we got a story that's having to do with going down to Mississippi. And the question becomes, can a person in today's 2019, being an older person, not a young person, an older person, can they claim that certain symbols that is associated with history be dumbfounded as to not knowing the real implications that it has on a society based on the history that has been laid in this country? I'll say that again. Can an older person who has been on this country and understand the dynamic that has been laid, can that person claim to not know about a symbol that has such a negative meaning, connotation, and symbolage? Can they shine off and act as if they don't know? Well, stay tuned for this particular report as we get into delve into this. Stay tuned as we get into this. Now check this out. Mississippi Fire Department roiled by Noose in locker. You know I'm going to say that again. Mississippi Fire Department roiled by Noose in locker. This story is coming out of ABC News. The story was done November the 30th, 2019. On the caption of the title of the picture, after a hangman's noose was found in a white Mississippi firefighter's locker, the firefighter was demoted and eventually resigned. But it has also raised questions about the meaning of symbols. And this is how this reads. There's little disagreement that the object found in a white Mississippi firefighter's locker was a hangman's noose. But as with many things in America these days, there's deep disagreements about what it meant. To some, it was a reminder of lynchings that took hundreds of black lives in Mississippi, and it had no place on city property. Though there were no suggestions that firefighter Shelton Russell had ever displayed it or used it to intimidate anyone. To Russell, it didn't carry that meaning. If anything, it symbolized America's lawless Wild West culture, where cowboys, vigilantes meted out rough justice. It happened in August in the town of HATTESBURG, home to 2 universities and about 46,000 people. About 53% of the town's residents are black, and about 42% are white. City officials have declined to make anyone available for interviews because it's a personal matter and might involve future litigations. Many details emerged during a Civil Service Commission hearing October 10th, as well as documents released to the Associated Press. On Friday, August 2nd, two firefighters working at Station 8 saw a noose hanging in an open locker of Russell, a lieutenant and a station manager. It was like shocked at first, said firefighter Contavious Reed, testifying about seeing it. When the city lawyer asked why he was shocked, the 24-year-old African-American described how nooses had been used to hang black people. I was kind of like, why would you have it in your locker? The other firefighter, a white engineer named Zed Mizet, testified he was shocked and disturbed to find the noose and said he'd always considered nooses a representation of racial hatred. But Russell, a 22-year department veteran, didn't see it that way. In statements and in talking to the commission and to the Associated Press, he described how he'd been watching a Western movie with a colleague after taking a rope course years ago. Russell said he didn't know how to tie a noose, and his colleague showed him how it was done. Russell said he put it in the locker and never thought about it again. He said he still doesn't understand how it's offensive. African Americans were hung by it. So were whites. So were horse thieves. And you know, I'm a cowboy. I'm out in the country. I ride a tractor every day. That's what I go back to. Cowboys. And that's how it got started, with watching the Westerns. Russell, who raises chickens and grows hay, told the Associated Press. Both firefighters who saw the news took photos and sent them to others. By Monday, word had gotten back to Russell that people were talking about it. He went to the station to confront the two firefighters about it, spreading rumors of racism. He said in a statement, the confrontation grew heated. Both the noose and the confrontation played a role in Russell's punishment. Fire chiefs Sharako Stewart demoted him, suspended him without pay for a month, and required him to undergo counseling. Russell appealed, but the commission upheld the punishment. Russell resigned. For some, Russell's inability to see the news-fraught racial history was the problem. City Attorney Randy Pope said during the hearing he can understand Russell might not understand the new symbolism, saying he didn't grow up African American. But Pope, who is white, said he educated himself about what the noose meant to African Americans. I went and looked, spent some time on the internet, what's involved in that symbol, and it is a very serious symbol. City Council member Deborah Delgado said she was dumbfounded that Russell wouldn't know the potent symbolism of the noose, especially with the Mississippi history of racial strife. According to the Equal Justice Initiative, Mississippi had one of the highest rates of lynchings across the South. Some were in Hattiesburg. William Stuckey, who wrote Hattiesburg, an American City in Black and White, described multiple lynchings, including one in 1903, when 500 people pulled a black man named Amos Jones from the city jail and hung him from a telegraph pole. Then they riddled his body with bullets. One expert who had extensively studied the history of lynchings in the South says whites and blacks tend to view these symbols very differently. A person doesn't have to be racist to not understand how impactful something like a noose can be to black people, said retired University of Georgia professor E.M. Beck. He said someone like Russell just basically doesn't have the experience base to realize how pertinent and potent that symbol can be within the black community. Hattiesburg news issue has drawn a little attention on social media. Some acquaintances of Russell backed him up, saying on Facebook that simply having a noose wasn't a crime and that Russell treated everyone he worked with fairly. Others questioned his sincerity and how he couldn't know its racial overtones. Russell's lawyer, Michael Adelman, suggested Russell was treated harshly because of political pressures on the fire chief, something Stewart denied. Alderman also suggests one firefighter was retaliating against Russell for previous flights, something the firefighter denied. Russell said if he'd known the noose was offensive, he would have taken it home. But he feels the situation escalated so quickly, he never got a chance. Anything could be offensive, but unless it's brought to my attention, which it never was till after the fact, then how do I know? He said after the hearing. All right, so we're back here, all right? So first and foremost, I want to say what's good to my subscribers, old, new. What's good, fam? No, I've been off a little bit, again, trying to get back into it because, you know, they're making some changes. So I want to thank each and every one of you who came and clicked on the video. Passerbys, if you happen to pass by, this is the most hated show on the black corner of the internet. And YouTube, you can go down the aisle, see some things that you might like. You happen to see something that make you feel some kind of way. Remember, the motto of the show is the truth. Don't need no partner. Now let's go ahead and let me get into this article here that I've seen, right? So, here it is. It's a Mississippi Fire Department. They said the word is roiled by noose in a locker, right? So, you know when they talk about royal, you know, as a wordologist, right? I'll go ahead and I'll try to break down the word so somebody may not understand what roiled is. Roiled, R-O-I-L-E-D, as they said, means that it means it was disturbed. The department was disturbed. The fire department was shaken up, stirred up, churned up, be clouded, irritated, annoyed, irked, vexed. They was peeved, right? They was disquieted by it. You know, badgered, hectored, harassed, plagued, anger, incensed. You know, all those words go with roiled as to what happened when two individuals, as I go ahead and break down what I just read to you, right? So accordingly, they say in this article that the day and time that we are here in the United States with the division, a lot of the racial anger, a lot of people will associate the fact that you have, you know, President Donald Trump in the office, that it stirred up, as I said, roiled the nation, right? As I gave you all the other synonyms to the word royal, right? And so, accordingly, they say that there's a deep disagreement about what it means when you see the symbol or see a noose, depending on what side of the table you sit on. Let's put it that way. So, accordingly, what this article will show is that people from both sides seem to see the same thing, but have different emotions, feelings, and meanings when they see it. Now, this individual here, we're going to get into it. Again, as the article talks about, that to some. Now, when you say some, in the case of this article, are they trying to say some meaning as white folks? Because black folks who are, again, BADOS, ADOS, FBA, B1, everything, we're all the same. Everybody got different titles, different labels, kind of like going to a grocery store, right? And say you wanted to buy yourself some corn. You went to the store to buy you some corn. Now, you want corn, but they have Dale corn, right? They have some generic corn. They got Del Monte. They got Keebler. Well, you know what I mean? They got different brands, but really just corn, right? And then there's all the additives and preservatives that makes a little difference between it. So, in the case here, when people talk about BADOS, ADOS, FBA, we all B1, we all cut from the same cloth. People just have different ways of labeling, titling it. So when you say some, I don't think people from that side of the table they don't feel like they don't understand what the symbolage and what the noose represents. Now, the other side of that table might be white folks who either naive, try to act as they play dumb, or just try to say, well, not going to admit it, right? And so we see that in this story that's talking about in Mississippi, I think it's in HATTESBURG, Mississippi, that a firefighter who named is Shelton Russell had a noose that he had in his locker. Now, according to say he never displayed it, he never used it to intimidate anybody, but two colleagues or two employees, depending on your, association with who you're working with, end up seeing it. But the thing is, they're not just regular employees, right? I think one was a lieutenant, the other one was a station manager. Now, accordingly, this locker is open. So it's not like it's closed and they went in and seen it. It was open, viewable for anybody who walked by. Now, again, the story does not talk about the demographics of the department. So you don't know whether it's, the percentages of who are working there. But they did talk about how, there's about 46,000 people who live in HATTESBURG. And they said that the demographic percentages is 53% of the town of the residents are black and about 42%. So it's all, 50-40, right? Almost 60-40, right? Somewhere like that, right? So it's kind of divided in there. But again, HATTESBURG has a long history. And so we see that this individual named Shelton Russell, again, after being it heard, because what happened is those individuals, they went in there, the two firefighters that worked at Station 8. They go in there, they see the noose was hanging. And what they did is they end up taking pictures and, start spreading it around that, hey, look what we seen up in Shelton Russell's locker, right? Word got back to him. He was upset about it. And then it took his place. So I guess, somebody took it to the necessary proper procedures in the fire department and brought it to, and here we go with the story. Now, accordingly, this supposed to had happened back in August 2nd when it was found. And so we end up seeing in October the 10th of that same year, or this year, I guess it was this year, that they had the Civil Service Commission had a hearing. And it seemed like the city officials had declined whether they wanted to make any available interviews because they understood the possibilities of future litigations that was going to be had with this case. So that was their way and not. But again, accordingly, it was the Associated Press was also there to actually get documents and everything. And so what we see is that they talked about two people in this article. They talked about a Kentavious Reed, which is a black man. Kentavious, that's black. He ain't never no white Kentavious, right? He don't need no white unless he, his mama might be white and his daddy black, you know what I'm saying? And the daddy name, something like that. And, but anyway, Kentavious saying. So accordingly, it looked like it said in the article that when they went and got the two to do the interview, what they said is Kentavious, when they asked him, when he was doing his testifying at the hearing, I guess, when you're talking about that Civil Service Commission, we see that the city lawyer had asked him why he felt shocked. Because remember when I read it, it said that when Contavious seen it, he was shocked at first when he seen it, right? And so here's the city lawyer asking him, well, why is he shocked? Now, again, Contavious is 24 years old. He's an African-American, right? So you would ask yourself, why would you think that this lawyer would think to ask to a young black man, why was he shocked? The reason why is because I got an article that I'm going to do later because I'm doing One Hit Wonders that is going to show you that they put an article out here that they're writing to white folks to tell them that the future generation of blacks that is coming or that is in position, and knowing that our demographics is changing and it's becoming more browner nation, that they're not to have so much fear because these that are now mixed up, not as, having such vigor as the ones that had birthed them, that we could sleep a little easy. Now, I'm going to show you this article later on, right? But here they is asking Contavious, a 24-year-old black man, why you feel like that you were shocked when you seen this, right? And he describes the news has been used as hang black people. Now, he knows that much. He may not can't be extensive on this history as to say what, the whole history and every individual that it took place, but he know as a black man that symbol, and again, we in Mississippi. You understand? I mean, didn't they have a movie that anybody seen with Gene Hackman talking about Mississippi burning? Right? A lot of people seen that. And I'm 24, he might have seen it, but again, we're going to say his parents have seen it. And I'm pretty sure being in Mississippi and that long, extensive history in Mississippi and the way that things still kind of been. I mean, I've been doing news for a while. I remember when they were going out threatening mugs about voting, right? So it's not new there. So anyway, it was a lawyer asking him. But then there was another firefighter that was also there. It was an engineer. And they said his name was Zed Mitzozet, right? Now, I don't think Mitzozet, he might be Jewish, right? He might be Jewish, right? Mitzozet, he might be Jewish, right? So they didn't question him as why he was shocked, but he said when he first seen it as well, according to the article, he said he was shocked and disturbed to find the noose. And he said, according to what his understanding and what he knew, he always considered the noose as representation of racial hatred. Now, again, a 24-year-old who said he knew that symbol meant to hang, didn't give the age of Zed Mitzozef, but he said, according to his understanding, what he knew, and I'm pretty sure he might be Jewish, that he was shocked and disturbed when he seen it, right? And he understands that representation of racial hatred. Now, here is a 24-year-old, and again, I'm going to say, assumingly, that this Mitzozet is Jewish, right? Now, when they go into this article and they keep talking, they say about Russell, which again, Russell is the individual, is the firefighter who got caught with this noose. It was Shelton Russell is his name, right? Shelton Russell is the one who got caught in with the noose. Now, they didn't specify what his age is, right? They said a 22-year department veteran. All right. So they didn't give his age, but the reason why I want to set this part up is because he wants to make it appear as if like, what he's going to say. And I'm going to get into that. So let's just say if he's 22-year veteran, let's just say if he came in at 18. I'm assuming that 18 is the youngest you can come in to be in a fire department, right? I'm gonna say 18. I don't think it'd be 16. I don't think you can get your, be 15, get your parents to sign and have you working there. I think let's say 18, right? So let's say if he's 18 coming in and been there 22 years, we're gonna just say hypothetically he got to be at least 40, right? So we're gonna say that Mr. Russell got to be at least 40 years old, right? Shelton Russell got to be at least 40 years old. And so when he got a chance to do his side at the commission hearing, he had said that he described that his understanding about the noose was about him watching Western movies Okay, that's how his understanding of when he came to this hearing, he wants to tell the commission that my understanding of the Noose has to do with the cowboys in the movies, right? When I seen the westerns. Now again, that's TV, right? And again, if he's 22 years as a veteran as a fire department, unless he came in as a baby, he got to be 30, 40, 50 years old, right? So he said that that noose that ended up being found in his locker came from one time him and a colleague who they don't give name. We don't know if he's still a firefighter there. But they said they happened to be watching a Western. And he says that he took a rope course years ago. I'm going to say that again. He said him and a colleague, according to this article, that they took, him and a colleague was watching Western movies. And then he says, that's out of his mouth, that I guess they quoting him from what he said at the commission hearing, that he took rope course years ago. But he said that he didn't know how to tie a noose. Now, what would be the purpose of a noose, right? That would be that would be the purpose of a noose. So he says that this colleague showed him how it was done. And so when he showed him how it was done, he put it in his locker and he never thought about it again. And he said he still doesn't understand how it's offensive. Now here again, can somebody be that naive to not know the historical assemblage to something and be old? Is it possible? Is the question here, right? So, but you have to question the fact, somewhere when he went into this making rope course, did the noose never come as part of them teaching? The same colleague that he's talking about that he went to do the rope course with, unless they separated that he went the course by himself, but he taught him how to do it, and he decided to leave it in his locker, but they don't specify how long that's been in the locker, right? And so he says this in the article. When they talk about the assemblage and again somebody had said something, he said African Americans were hung by it. Then he said, so were whites, so were horse thieves. Then he goes on and says that I'm a cowboy. I'm out in the country. Now, wait a minute. He's trying to justify the fact that because he's a country boy, right? He said that's how he know, because he raised chicken, grow hay, right? As a cowboy, this is where all this understanding of him watching Westerns and what that's his understanding. Now, could somebody be somewhere isolated away from everybody else and still not know what a noose meant at the age that he is in, right? Is that what he's trying to slide with the commission to make them understand? I didn't know. I really didn't know. But to show you he's full of shit, yeah, I said it. He's full of shit is because according to what they quoted him saying, he said African Americans were hung by it. But he said so were whites and so were horse thieves. Okay, but the first part of that, what you said is African Americans were hung by it. So once you acknowledge that the fact that you knew that that symbol had something to do with black people, when they seen it, that it would not be, because again, it don't tell us the demographic and the numbers of black people with fire department. And most fire departments, depending, unless you probably in a more, demographic black area, and even then they still don't be, the numbers don't be more blacks to whites. But we know that Kentavious is black and he's 24, but it didn't say nobody else, right? So anyway, right there, he slipped up because he acknowledged the fact that African Americans were hung by it. So in that case, if he knows that, then everything else that he just said don't fly. It is no good, right? So how this came about is, again, like I said, that both firefighters that saw the news took the photo, sent them to other people, and right when he got back around, he came and confronted both of them, right? And it got heated. So I guess they were about to get into, fisticuffs. And so based on the actions that the department ended up taking had to do with the fire chief, that I think that was Sharako Stewart. He said now the news and the confrontation is what got him demoted, because he lost his position and got demoted. He got suspended without pay for about a month, right? And then they said, well, okay, to keep counseling. Now, you want to keep your job, go to counseling, right? But he appealed the situation, but the commission upheld the punishment. And then he ended up resigning. Now, did the commission also see that what you were saying didn't make sense, but yet you try to say this story to try to legitimize your position? But again, if you might have been Contavious 24, maybe, and I'm not even going to give you that. But if you was younger, but you being older, there's no way you can say that you didn't know, when yet the first thing, and then the quotes that came out, what they said you said, was the fact that you said African Americans were hung, white people were hung by it, and so were horse thieves. So you said African Americans. So you right there already had told that you knew that that news in itself was inappropriate to be left in your locker for other black people to see it. Check. All right. So we see that they said that the inability for him to see the front racial history was the problem. Now, again, that's what I was saying. They saying that him acting as if like he is a man of closing on middle age, if not already middle age, to act as if he knows nothing about history and what the symbol is and what the noose in itself refers to and what it means, then he's only playing games, right? He's only playing games with that. So we see that the city attorney that must have had represented him, his name was Randy Pope, he said during the hearing, he can understand Russell might not. Now, see, again, in the black corner, you have people who talk about on code. White folks stay on code. Be wrong is all out, get out, and yet, but see, that's the thing about being a lawyer, right? Or a lawyer, they say a liar, right? Liar with Jim Curry, or Kelly, or not Kelly, what the hell am I talking about? Jim Carrey, right? Played liar, right? And that's basically what a lawyer is. I mean, you can have good intent, good heart, but you might be put in a position, and if you're a defense attorney, then you're going to have to come on the way to get your client out. You got to find some kind of loophole or something to get them out. So he says, here's the city lawyer said, quote what the article said. They said, Russell might not understand the new symbolism. Shut that shit up. You know why I got to shut that shit up? Because he already said he understood that the symbol of the noose hung by African Americans through everything, every defense that he could say. He was burned up with that. He was burned up when he said, well, blacks were hung with it, whites were hung with it, horse thief. You just admitted you knew, right? But this city attorney, he ended up saying, he said that Russell may not understand the new symbolism, saying he didn't grow up African American. I'm going to say that again. He said, because Russell, who may not understood the new symbolism, because he didn't grow up as an African American. African Americans learned that symbol from white folks. How do white folks not know what a noose is? We learned it from you, our existence and our historical from here, being here around you. And that symbol and being, again, the song was Strange Fruits, right? Strange fruits, people hanging, ancestors hanging, right? And a white man who say he's a cowboy in Mississippi acts as if he don't know nothing about, no history about nothing. And yet, even the story that wrote this talked about how an ancestor of ours, right? When they talked about the ancestor that they took in 1903, when they talked about 500 people, pulled a black man And our ancestor's name was Amos Jones, right? He was in the city jail. They took him. There was a lynch mob. This is really a lynch mob came, took him out the city jail because they wanted to do immediate justice. You know how it is. Claimed black man done raped the white woman and all hell got to go, right? So the 500 came out there. I probably got the book because I got a book called the Sanctuary, and it's got all the lynchings in it. It's very gruesome. I would have put it on here, but I didn't. But anyway, I'm pretty sure I got him in there, right? And that's where you see, I think the little girl smiling and so forth, and they burned it, and they shot him up. They shot rid of his body with bullets even after the fact. Now, this here, again, was in Mississippi, right? And so they also went and got this so-called expert and said that, he said how racist, you don't have to be a racist to have a noose, right? But it is impactful on how that is perceived and understood by black folks, right? But then he also goes on and says, again, this is this white coldness. He says that now he's a retired university professor at Georgia, this Ian Beck. He says someone like Russell just basically doesn't have the experience base to realize how pertinent and potent that symbol can be within the black community. What? He basically doesn't have the experience. What you mean he don't have the experience? Oh, so if he would have been riding with a horse with a, with that hood on his damn head, burning crosses, he would have experience? But that's, again, you know what I'm saying? But that's them staying on code because, again, he's white and they don't want him to lose it. And so what they did, they're fighting for him, right? And so, again, this same lawyer, that one who has said that he didn't grow up as a black American and didn't understand the new symbolism. Now, he is a white man. Now, again, he's a white man. The city attorney name was Randy Pope. He said that he had to educate himself about the noose meant to black people. Wait a minute. He went to educate himself about what the noose meant to African Americans. What positiveness of a noose is there? Other than the fact that we see that Shelton Russell tried to say, well, I'm a cowboy. And this is what we do. We rope and steer cattle. And okay. Then if that be the case, then why are you bringing it to work? Because that means if you doing that, what was you doing it for? Was it just to know how to do it? But you an old farm boy. You a cowboy. How does a cowboy on a farm who raising animals and raising hay don't know nothing about that? That's why they seen right through all that, right? They knew that was, you know what I'm saying? You spitting in the wind, right? And it went back in your own damn face, right? And so this same lawyer, the city attorney, said he went and studied. He spent some time. Now, I don't know how much time did you say they would qualify for you to really understand it, but he went on the internet. He Googled it. He went on Google, right? And he said what involved in that symbol, and this very serious symbol. Now, wait a minute. Now, here is also the city attorney acting as if he brand new. He don't know what a noose is. Wait a minute. How all these white folks with all this long history of what black folks have been going through in this country, everybody trying to act as if like they don't know how that happened. Ain't nobody family. There was some other people that done went in a spaceship and somewhere that flew to another country, another damn planet. None of the relatives, none of them don't even exist. That's how they want us to believe. Everybody want to play dumb like, I had to go see what was the real relevance to black folks. Wait a minute. You know nothing about the history of lynchings? You know nothing about the burnings of the cross and none of that stuff, right? So that was just a blur. Again, you just isolate how you look at everything, and then that's why y'all like to try to say we be whining and bitching and moaning and crying, when because again, you don't really look at what we've gone through, because again, that's just not, has no relevance to you in your life any damn way, right? And so he said he educated himself. But you see that there was a woman on the city council, her name was Deborah Delgado, and I'm going to say Delgado must be Spanish, Hispanic or Spanish. And she said she was dumbfounded by what Russell had said, that he wouldn't know the potent symbolism of the new. That's unheard of to believe that somebody of middle-aged white to act as if they don't have no knowledge about something they know, everybody know historically, until you brand new like a kid, until you learn about it. A 24-year-old Contavious said, a 24-year-old said he knew what it was. So how does a 40, 50-year-old man act like he don't know? So she was dumbfounded by it, right? And then she said, now wait a minute, we in Mississippi. Huh? We in M-I, crooked letter I, crooked letter I, humpback I. I'm saying that again. We in M-I, crooked letter I, humpback, oh shit, did I say it right? M-I-S-S-I, crooked letter I, humpback I, right? You know we say that back in the day. That's Mississippi, right? And so with the racial strife that was going on in the history of Mississippi, he want to say he had no understanding about it. And again, that coldness went in because his people was acquaintances of him. They didn't give no names. But they say, well, hey, they backed him up. Went on Facebook and said, well, you know what? Simply because somebody has a noose is not a crime. It's just because you have a noose. What you got a noose for? Now, he's in the business again, firefighter, and he's a cowboy. Now, when he a cowboy, and then we got a news when he was on this farm at his house, and somebody seen it, well, okay, he a cowboy. He might be roping some steer. You understand? But at your job, you know what I'm saying? What it say, city property. What the hell that news being in here, and why is it in your open locker and ain't even closed? Right? You don't know when it was put in there. Don't know how long it's been in there, but it did get seen, and then it got brought to attention, right? And then you felt some kind of way and you can't confront mugs about it, right? But here's your friends on code. Like, yeah, we understand you make some money, you know what I'm saying, for to lose your job, you're gonna have to start all over again. But again, what the old Beretta say, don't do the crime if you can do the time. Yeah. You understand? So that's what happened here, right? So, but others who also might have been acquaintances, they questioned his sincerity and how he couldn't know it's racial overtone. That's what it's saying. How is it possible somebody of that age and that, you know, in Mississippi not know that? And so you see Russell's lawyer, Michael Adamman, he said that he believed that he was treated harshly. He believed there was political pressure by the fire chief to get this, you know, out of there. But again, you know, certain people trying to clean certain things up. So it's kind of like white folks know if you get caught out there with your pants down, you got to charge it to the game. You know, I normally got to do that, right? They got to charge it to the game. You know how they do it, right? You got caught out there, so they feel like you got to get caught out there with your pants down. And so, in closing, what Russell said, he said this. He said, if he'd known the noose was offensive, he would have taken it home. You already knew, Russell, it was offensive because you knew that black people got hung. How many black people work at the fire department where you work at? That was the question. How many work there? Huh? And he felt like the situation escalated too quickly. Meaning, y'all found it. Why was the first thing y'all went and did is y'all gonna tell? Why ain't y'all come to me? Well, maybe because when Contavious and them seen it, and again, the other dude was Jewish, and you see what he said, right? You already shot that bullet. They went from to let you get another reload to shoot again, and maybe this time it wouldn't just be the symbol, maybe be around somebody's goddamn neck. You understand what I'm saying? And so they was like, no, they won't give you no second chance. So they went ahead, went through the proper procedures, and the system moved accordingly the way it is supposed to have moved, right? And so he believed he never got a chance to redeem the situation. Well, you know, with the long history and all the racial tension and everything, like I said, if you shoot and you miss and all the bullets fall out your gun, and I see you trying to pick up another bullet to put it to load into your, let's say you got a 38, a 5-shooter 38. Somehow you shot, but I kicked. And when I kicked it, somehow I hit the button and all your lock fell open and your bullets fell out. Now you scrambling trying to get the bullet. But I got my gun. Am I going to sit there and let you put another bullet in your gun to try to shoot me again? Now I got to get you now because I can't give you a chance to shoot me again. And that's what happens when they get caught out here with their pants like that. And he says, in the end of this article, he says, anything could be offensive. Unless it's brought to my attention, it never was until the fact. So how do I know? Wait a minute. See the logic in that. You already had put your foot in your mouth when you had said you knew that African Americans got hung. So you had no defense then. That's what you thought you were saying, something slick. Well, white folks was and horse thieves, but you said African Americans. And once you put that in the equation, you was done. Right? So that was what that was, right? So what you tell me, what you think about that? You know, can some things, can this be somebody innocently had something and not knowing the broader spectrums of what he had? Or was this somebody who just got their hand caught, as they say in the cookie jar, and he didn't think that, he thought his camaraderie with his people would have went through the procedures to come through him so he could make some changes. Maybe he had an issue because they cited in the article said that they felt like there was some kind of retaliatory on something about something that happened between him and somebody else, but they never mentioned who that was. Was that person black? Maybe that was what it was and the symbol was left there for him or somebody to see and it came out. And so again, you tell me what you think. Again, I am your whiteologist, the most hated show in the black corner of the internet, right? And, hit that like button, subscribe button, share button. You can comment. You can even dislike. You know, it's EEOC over here. And we don't tend to fight against nobody, right? So again, I want to thank each and every one of you for clicking on the video. We ready to hit that? Hit that for me, sir. You ready to get it? Can we get it? Can we hit it? Get it. You kind of slow with that today. What's going on with you? There we go. Get it. All right. So again, I want to thank everybody for your participation. Coming over again, this is the Black Minds News Report. And to the next show, y'all, you know how I said, when you see one another, greet your brother. What's good, brother? What's good, sister? You can't say that much, at least give a universal nod. You gotta understand that we are all in this and we only got each other. Understand that we are in times that some people are seeking for our demise. So it is very incumbent that we stay vigilant, mindful, and keeping an eye on everything, right? Because we closing in 2020. And you see what they doing and all these things out here. So again, this is Black Minds News. I'm your host, Mr. Blows Your Mind. To the next show, peace, love. And to the next show, to the next show.